Everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for taking the time to purchase and support. This will be the fourth book in the 5 books of Moses in the Bible series. And, getting into Numbers. Numbers is one of those books where, it really just goes with the whole theme of the 5 books of Moses, which is, dealing with the law. And, what they basically had to do, and what the 5 books of Moses is really about, is they had to basically, take these stories. They had to basically give us stories that would teach and indoctrinate and basically fool the congregation, while at the same time keeping away from them the true esoteric knowledge that's in the book. Yet, at the same time, reveal that esoteric knowledge to the initiated and conscious people. So you had these books where they had to really get you into the story, teach you about rules and laws, and get people to basically abide by those laws and be hooked on the sermon that the preacher preaches in the 5 books. So while people was getting the word and listening to these stories and getting sucked into the story, they wasn't really paying attention or not even really understanding the true hidden meaning behind the stories and, all of the real parables that's hidden in the books. So they would be indoctrinated and basically, brainwashed, as we say, into following these laws and rules. At the same time, the people who are initiated, the people who are in these secret societies could look at these stories and understand the esoteric nature of it. So it's no different in Numbers. As we talked about in Leviticus, Exodus, Genesis, you have right now basically the Israelites coming out of Egypt and basically, going through this whole test. When you really pay attention to the whole overall thing, they are to basically learn and understand what God wants of them, what they are supposed to be doing, and have obedience. And this is the crazy part that's hard to believe when you start really getting into the story. The utter disobedience of these people in the face of real power that they have bear witness to, for them to be doing what they're doing, is just crazy, which we'll touch on. But when you pay attention and you look at Numbers and you really see how, really most of the book, as you'll see, it's really just more reiterating laws, but still it's going to give us this story, which we're going to get into. But not only is the 5 books of Moses giving us, astrology, giving us, math, giving us physics, science. Not only are we getting these things from it, we are also getting the history of the Greeks, which I have talked about. We are also basically getting a story. A lot of people say it's our history. Well, it's our hidden history when you understand. But it's basically the history of the rise of the Europeans and how they stole our shit. Plain and simple. How they stole from us. And it's right in front of our face. And it's so sick that most of the Europeans that read the book, they don't want to believe that they are capable of such atrocities and that such things happen. They turn their head to it. While at the same time, black people, we have hope. It's so bad and it's so crazy what happened, and it seems so hopeless when you're getting into the story. It's one of the reasons why a lot of black people cling to the hope that the book is real, in hopes that everything we're reading is not possible and that these things did not come true, and that there is something good out there that will help us get through, what we have faced. So now, from Genesis up to now to Numbers, as you read and you see, Moses and Aaron is spending his time breaking down these laws and commandments to the Israelites. Now, the Israelites spend time keep breaking these laws. It's crazy, as I said, for them to have bear witness to so many miracles and things that was done for them to be still, doubting, having any kind of doubt. If you've seen Moses part the sea, you've seen all the locusts and the firstborn die and everything that happened to these people. Now, mind you, this is not a people that just been around the world, have been traveling and seen so much stuff. They're not impressed. These are people that have supposedly been in bondage for years. All they know is slave labor, work. Any kind of power you would think they would be like, wow, especially the power to bring them out of Egypt and have them out moving towards, their supposed promised land. You would think they would be stern and thankful, I should say, with what they doing. They should be really understanding what Moses is trying to do for them and listening to every word. But no, they spend a lot of time repeatedly breaking these same commandments and everything that we read. And so that's weird. But you got to understand, Numbers is basically trying to cover for the fact that, one, we can't prove none of this stuff. We can't prove this whole Exodus and the whole journey and everything like that. And when you really get into it, Numbers would basically be taking place around the time of the Diadochi War, which you'll understand in a second why. But, when you first get into it, first start getting into Numbers, you see that Moses is basically taking a census of the people, which a census is a count, hence the name Numbers. He's taking a census of the people that they have that's basically with them as they're leaving Egypt. So, verse 1 starts off, "And the Lord spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, in the tabernacle of the congregation on the first day of the second month, in the second year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, Take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel, after their families, by the house of their father, with the number of their name, every male by their polls. From 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war." Understand, let me say that again. From 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Israel, thou and Aaron shall number them by their armies. So now we understand that the Hebrews are coming out of Egypt and they're on this journey. They're on this long journey from Egypt to get to the promised land, which is, we know, Israel. So now understand, it does not take 40 years, however long, you'll see why, but it don't take that long for them to walk from Egypt to Israel. It should have only taken them, about 6 days. But you factor in stops and setting up camp and sleeping and eating and everything, you can round that up to a month. You can round that up to freaking, almost a month and a half. It shouldn't took them 40 years. So stuff is going to happen, as you'll see. But of course, we know this is basically hiding the real story of what's going on. So again, when you put this into context, as I said, you're putting it with basically the wars of the Diadochi, what basically took place. And understanding is talking about numbers. Now you'll see he's talking about them taking the families. When you start reading chapter 1, going through the families and basically picking out the most noblest families, the strongest families, because now they're basically splitting up the land. This is basically them giving you the backstory of what's taking place. The hidden story is what has taken place after they conquered Egypt. So now the families are splitting up this land, and now they're counting the families and splitting up this land and putting the noblest families in certain places. That's basically what's really taking place here. And they're counting the numbers. And the only reason why they're counting the numbers and putting together these different armies is because guess what? We know they're going to go conquer and take more African lands. That's what it's really about. Them now looking at what they got, assessing the people they have, putting together the armies to go on ahead and take more African land, as you'll see. So now it says here, and Moses and Aaron took these men, and this is Numbers 1:17. Moses and Aaron took these men, which are expressed by their names, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of their names, from 20 years old and upward, by their polls. As the Lord commanded Moses, so he numbered them in the wilderness of Sinai. And the children of Reuben, Israel's oldest son, by their generations after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of their names, by their polls, every male from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war Understand what they're talking about. War. Now, as you basically go on through the chapter, it's basically going to go through all the names of these people, because we understand it's 12 tribes. But within each tribe, we're talking about it's a bunch of different families. So you got one tribe, and you still got like maybe 100 different fathers, generations of people in just one tribe, and then so on and so forth. It's a lot of people we're talking about. But you understand, you have them basically coming out of Egypt. They supposedly fled out of Egypt. Remember, they running on a run supposedly. But now they're getting together, they're gearing up and getting the people together for battle, for war against who? They're supposed to be getting led to the promised land. So, why are these people getting ready to fight when they didn't really want to stand and fight against the Egyptians, but now they coming together to put together armies? You got to understand when they're giving you the story. This, in Masonic teaching, when you understand, it's supposed to go with real history. And that history would be, when you add it up, the wars of the Diadochi, which it'll make sense, because this is what's happening around this time. Boom, we took this land, we got it, we did it. There's other Egyptian territory, African people's land, we have to go in and conquer in order for us to accomplish what they want to accomplish. So that's what they're going forth and doing. So now again, one of the things that they do, and this is where the common sense come in, they really test your common sense. If you are willing to allow your common sense to not ask very basic, simple common sense questions, if you're willing to forego that and listen to what this preacher man is telling you and just ignore the very common sense questions that should be in your mind, then there you go. They got you. You are now indoctrinated, because this is exactly what's taking place. The first thing you should ask yourself is this. One, it's called numbers. This is God Almighty. Knows all, sees all, what have you. How is it that God don't know the numbers? Why does Moses have to go and number these people? God should know. He should know exactly how many people it is, who is what, and he should be able to just give it to Moses easily. But you have to think about the thousands of people, how much time it would take for them to count and number all these people. This is God that's supposed to know. And he doesn't give them this answer. He makes them do this task. It's one of the things you got to think about. So now they're basically going on. They counted these people up, and now they're going to go into this land, and Moses is going to send spies. He's going to send spies. And again, the question you got to ask yourself, why does God got to tell Moses to send spies to spy on this land that he should know everything about? So now, when the first couple chapters is basically saying, you can see it yourself, it's talking about these group of people belong to this, and so on. It goes through all the names and a whole bunch of names, and it's a bunch of bullshit. So we're going to skip forward to 13, and it's saying here, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, send thou men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them. And Moses, by the commandment of the Lord, sent them from the wilderness of Paran. All those men were heads of the children of Israel. I ain't going to go through all the names. So we basically talking about, a bunch of spies went out into Canaan to go spy on what's happening. And it's like, for what? God's supposed to know. He's supposed to understand what's happening. So another question, you got to understand. Now, this is where we're getting to the Amalekites or what have you. If it's going to be God, remember, God gives the Hebrews, the Israelites, the power to defeat these people because they're small in numbers. So God is going to give them the power to defeat them anyway. So if you're going to give these people the power to beat the Amalekites anyway, no matter what, it's a win hands down. What's the point of going to go spy? What's the point of spying when it's an easy win? When you're going to give them the power to win anyway. It's no point in going down there and spying if you're going to give them the win anyway. But you got to understand the story is there to get you caught up. But you got to still look for, these common sense questions within the story. So now it says in Numbers 13:17, and Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan and said unto them, get you up this way southward and go up into the mountain and see the land, what it is, and the people that dwelleth therein, whether they be strong or weak, few or many, and what the land is that they dwell in, whether it be good or bad, and what cities they be that they dwell in, whether in tents or in strongholds. And it says down here in 27, and they told him and said, we came unto the land whither thou sendest us, and surely it floweth with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwelleth in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and the Hittites, and the Jebusites, and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea, and by the coast of Jordan. And now we know. Here we go. It's code again, giving you African civilizations. And a lot of people don't want to put the Hittites and understand that it's two different Hittites. You have a Shemitic Hittite and a Hamitic Hittites when you pay attention. So you have black Hittites who they basically going in and conquering. The Shemitic ones don't come until later on. Actually, the Shemitic ones you don't see until really you start getting this biblical story when they start talking about the whole biblical aspect of the Hittites. But we know black people we're talking about here, where they're going in and conquer. So the backstory, this is easy to see for anybody that's paying attention. You have supposedly God's supposed to give these people this promised land. It's like, okay, you got poof, we supposed to be there. So it's not hard for you to really parallel all of this with the wars of the Diadochi and what's happening after the fall or the conquest of ancient Egypt. They're going out to conquer these other African territories, plain and simple. Send these spies down there and see what's going on. Check these people out. What do they have? And of course, this is Egyptian territory, and they have cities, they have buildings, everything there is nice. The people is big and strong. Don't get fooled by what they saying, calling them Amalekites, and you'll see later what they really talking about. But this is just for them to try to make it look as if these people are scary, to try to get the reader, the congregation, to understand these people are evil monsters or what have you, and they needed to be defeated by God's people. That's all. So you have them putting together this army, getting ready to face what they know is out there, plain and simple. So basically, when you put it towards what the Greeks was doing, everybody know the Greeks' history, the Spartans, the way that Greek men was built, because this is what they was really doing in real life. They had to breed these men for war. Plain and simple, because we was better than them. We was bigger. So when you go and read and you understand how Spartans basically was raising their children, it says here, it began in infancy. When a Spartan baby was born, soldiers came to the house and examined it carefully to determine its strength. The baby was bathed in wine rather than water to see its reaction. If the baby was weak, the Spartans exposed it on the hillside. That's crazy. The Spartans exposed it on a hillside or took it away to become a slave. Infanticide was common in ancient cultures, but the Spartans were particularly picky about their children. It was not just a matter of the family. The city-state decided the fate of the child. Nurses had the primary care of the baby and did not coddle it. Soldiers took the boys from their mothers at age 7, housed them in a dormitory with other boys, and trained them as soldiers. The mother's softening influence was considered detrimental to the boys' education. The boys endured harsh physical discipline and deprivation to make them strong. They marched without shoes and went without food. They learned to fight, endure pain, and survive through their wits. The older boys willingly participated in beating the younger boys to toughen them. Self-denial, simplicity, the warrior code, and loyalty to the city-state governed their lives. And I'm going to skip down here. It says at age 20, remember that at age 20 or so, they had to pass a rigorous test to graduate and become full citizens. Only the soldiers will receive the aristocratic citizenship. If they failed their test, they never became citizens but periesai, the middle class. So to some extent, class was based on merit rather than birth. If the young men passed, they continued to live in the barracks and train as soldiers. So just like with the Hebrews, with the Israelites, at 20, you can be a soldier, you go to war. It's the same thing commonly known with the Spartans, with the Greeks. At 20, you train for war, you're ready to go to war. It's not a coincidence that's in there. So basically what's taking place, as I said, they know they get ready to go up against some big, strong Africans, And they basically have to get ready and prepare to see if their numbers can basically go up against them. Because it don't matter how strong they is. If you got the numbers, you should be able to win. And that's how they're looking at it. We should have the numbers to basically go up against these people. So what basically takes place, it says in Numbers 13:30, and Caleb stilled the people before Moses and said, "Let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it." Moses is confident, like, let's go. But the men that went with him said, "We be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we." And they brought up an evil report of the land, which they had searched into the children of Israel, saying, "The land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof. And all the people that we saw in it are men of great stature." Big dudes. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak. Now understand, the sons of Anak supposed to be these long neck giants. In other versions, you'll see them refer to these people as being basically descendants of the Nephilim. You'll see that in some of the books. But saying, "And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants. And we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight." So basically what's taking place here, you have the spies that went out. They basically went out there and they saw, what they saw, supposedly giants or what have you. They coming back to Moses and they like, "Yo, we can't beat these dudes. They giants." They said, "We like grasshoppers to these people." So they had to be huge, in that comparison. So they basically bitching up and they like, "Yo, why you bring us out of Egypt to basically go through what we went through just to get squashed and killed by these people? It's crazy. Let's go back to Egypt." They're actually saying, let's go back to Egypt. So, basically it says here, Numbers 14:1, it's saying, "And all the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron. And the whole congregation said unto them, Would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God we had died in this wilderness? And wherefore have the Lord brought us unto this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children shall be a prey? Were it not better for us to return to Egypt?" And they said one to another, "Let us make a captain, and let us return to Egypt." So now again, as I said, it's one of those things, when they beating people, when they going through what they're going through and they seeing these miracles, how could they doubt? And even in the context of, God himself, why put up with this? This is supposed to be a chosen people, especially these people are stubborn, and it's crazy what's going to happen, as you're going to see. But, in 22, he's fed up, and it says here in 22, "Because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now, these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice. And the Lord spoke unto Moses and Aaron, saying, How long shall I bear with this evil congregation, which murmur against me? I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel, which they murmur against me. Say unto them, As truly as I live, saith the Lord, as ye have spoken in my ears, so will I do to you. Your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness, and all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number of 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me. Doubtless ye shall not come into the land concerning which I swear to make you dwell therein, save Caleb the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua the son of Nun. But your little ones, which ye said should be a prey, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which ye have despised. But as for you, your carcasses, they shall fall in the wilderness, and your children shall wander in the wilderness 40 years, and bear your whoredoms until your carcasses be wasted in the wilderness. So now, the Israelites gotta wander 40 years because they tired of God bullshitting. When you really pay attention to it, you're supposed to be doing miracles, you're supposed to be God. Like, come on, man, get to the point. And the religious people will look at it as, oh my goodness, you doubting God, and it was just so bad for them. And of course, yeah, after all the miracles and everything they've seen, they're supposed to be trusting of what's going on. Okay, so as Christians will tell you today, you don't question God, you just do what He say. But it's like, come on, man, stop playing. This stuff don't make no sense. It's crazy. Who got time for all this? Just put us there. We wandering all this time. We're going through all this. Just put us in the land. You're supposed to be God, powerful, what have you. So because they're asking rational questions that anybody would ask, they got to wander 40 years. But as the religious person will look at it saying, ye of little faith. So it's crazy. So your carcasses is going to basically be there. You're going to wander for 40 years. Everybody that's basically 20 and up is going to die wandering 40 years, except for Caleb and Joshua. But now really we understand this whole 40-year crap. The whole reason why I went through the story and told you about all this, and so you can understand this is really about them trying to make the time fit. Plain and simple. That's all it is. The whole 40 wandering years and all that is just trying to make them fit what happened in that time, the reason why they ain't where they should be. We're talking about a people who left Egypt to go basically travel a route ruled by Egyptians to come into another country ruled by Egyptians. So if they would have got there when they were supposed to get there, clearly, they send out word. I mean, if you pay attention to the story, some Egyptians should have came from Egypt to the other part to at least warn the people, to Israel, to warn people what was going on. And you'll see later on in the Bible that this was taking place after the many wins of the Israelites. People start getting word about them only in the Bible, not in real life. But it don't fit. The whole timeline don't fit. A lot of stuff don't fit, as we'll get into. But the whole 40-year thing is simply to basically try to fit in and make up for the parts of the story that don't make sense, that don't fit in with real time. So now after everything that happened, God snapped, act like a little, had a temper tantrum, God, and basically told Moses what to tell the people. And Moses go tell the people, hey, y'all done messed up. God tired of all this, unfaithfulness, and y'all not really believing in him and everything he's done and this and that. He mad. So we got to wander for 40 years. So let's imagine you're going to have to tell, thousands of people what's about to happen, that you're going to wander for 40 years and you're going to die if you're over 20 and all this stuff that's going on. So they basically go to sleep. They get up the next morning and they're like, man, fuck it. We're going to go kill these Amalekites. And Moses warned them, hey, God is not going to be with y'all. Ark of the Covenant not going to be with y'all. Don't go. Y'all go, y'all going to die. Told them. So they went down there to go fight against the Amalekites, got killed, got slain, plain and simple. So, I mean, basically, again, the whole 40-year thing, as I said, is to basically fit, in real history. Because really what's going on, as the story is trying to convey to you, that they went into these African territories and they seen these big Africans that they could not beat. And it was like, damn, the story is already giving you a hint that they're breeding their army, putting their armies together. Because that's basically what's happening. They had to breed an army. And when you go back, as I read to you, how the Spartans was breeding, that's the whole reason why they was doing that. It's giving it to you right there in Numbers. Everything's fitting for you, giving you the Greek story. The whole reason why they was doing that, breeding these big giant, niggas who people didn't worry about nothing. They was all bred to fight and kill, plain and simple. And here you have the African sitting there, a spiritual person, never fathoming what's about to take place. So they had one, and the reason why they did one, they had the element of surprise. Because here you have a spiritual African civilizations, even though we was big and strong and we had warriors or what have you, they just wasn't expecting the war to come the way it did. The amount of big soldiers that just came, that was bred specifically to kill us. And they wasn't expecting it. So the whole 40-year thing is basically that, the numbers, getting the numbers ready. So that basically happens. Go down there, people, they get killed, they get slain. And of course, these Israelites still don't get it. They're basically doomed already. They still not getting it. And they like, yo, what's going on? So what you have is you have the sons of Levi. You have a few other people. They basically come together to rebel against Moses and Aaron because they tired. They're like, yo, people got killed. We tired of this. We going to something this up. So they rebel against Moses and Aaron. It says in Numbers, this is number 16. Let's just go down to 3. And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron and said unto them, ye take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Wherefore then lift ye up yourselves above the congregation of the Lord. So basically you had a congregation, you got these people coming up, they come down to the tabernacle and they come up there and they like, y'all always the ones talking to God. How come y'all is above us? Everybody here is supposedly holy. How come y'all putting yourself above the congregation? And start getting people to jump on board. Moses go and talk to God, and God is like, go down there and tell these people that's not with, the sons of Levi and Korah and the people that's the main people that's basically speaking out. Go pull those people away from them. And Moses go down there and he's basically saying, get away from him. Get away from these people. Get away from them. Move back. Now, understand that if these people die, if I kill these people, then I killed these people. But if basically something happened to them, like, the ground opened up and swallow them and kill them, understand it's not me killing them. It's God killing them. So don't get mad at me. God is punishing them for what they're doing. So that's what he's basically saying to them. So if we walk away from here and something happened to them, just know that's not me. That's God. So it says here, but on the morrow, all the congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron, saying, ye have killed the people of the Lord. And it came to pass that when the congregation was gathered against Moses and against Aaron, that they looked towards the tabernacle of the congregation, and behold, the cloud covereth it, and the glory of the Lord appeared. And Moses and Aaron came before the tabernacle of the congregation, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, get you up from among this congregation, that I might consume them as in a moment. And they fell upon their faces. And Moses said unto Aaron, take a censer and put fire there. And a censer is basically like a candle holder, like an incense holder. And put fire therein from off the altar, and put on incense, and go quickly unto the congregation, and make an atonement for them, for there is wrath going out from the Lord. The plague is begun. So basically Moses is like, hey, you need to run around there real quick and try to, because like if you use incense like an offering kind of sort of for atonement of sins, if you go back and start reading all the ways in Leviticus that you can atone for your sins, what have you, and in Exodus. So he tells Aaron to go run out there basically with the incense and basically try to repent for all these people, because God about to kill them all. If you read, he like, I'm about to just kill all these people. So he like, yo, go out there. If you go out there with the incense, this is basically going to be like a sign for forgive these people. Don't kill them all. So Aaron is running out there. And Aaron took as Moses commanded and ran into the midst of the congregation. And behold, the plague has begun among the people. And he put on incense and made an atonement for the people. And he stood between the dead and the living. And the plague was stayed, meaning stopped. Now that died in the plague were 14,700 beside them that died about the matter of Korah. And Korah was the one who led this whole rebellion. And Aaron returned unto Moses unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the plague was stayed. Now understand, this is just one of those things, again, as I said in the beginning. You have these stories that must be told. This is why we're going through stories. We're going to read a little bit more of the Bible this time in this book, because you got to understand a lot of this stuff is going to make sense later. Trust me, everything that I'm giving you is for a reason. So again, the whole thing, as I said in the beginning, you have to have it to where you're giving these stories, but at the same time, you're teaching and indoctrinating the people, giving them discipline, giving a congregation these laws and rules. And I'm talking about on the aspect as, in real life, the church telling these stories to people. Because what now, when you hear these stories, what do people say? This is one of the reasons why people are so adamant about God's will and, God works in mysterious ways and you got to have faith and everything. Because you read stuff like this and hear the littlest doubt, people making common sense judgments, asking common sense questions, killed. And this is what they're trying to put over to the people. I don't care how stupid it sounds. is God. I don't care how dumb it may seem to you. This is God. And this is why these religious people have their whole notion. It don't make sense. Oh, well, what was happening to them in Numbers didn't make sense, but it still was God's will. And if I go against it, this is what's going to happen to me. Bad stuff is going to happen. And this is how these people try to rationalize the stupidness of a lot of these stories and, the questions that we ask, the common sense questions that we ask. The same thing is being asked in the book, in the stories. People, common sense questions. What's going on? Why is this way? Oh, we got to wander and die. Our carcasses got to be left in the wilderness for 40 years because we wanted to go fight for ourselves, or because we asked some questions, because we had doubt and fear, and you're supposed to be God Almighty. It's like, go do this. Let's just do it. But we got questions, so we got to die because of it. So it's crazy when you put it into context, but you can understand how people are looking at this, religious people, and having this whole fear. So now the story is so good, it's gripping. And it's hard for the average Christian, the average person to understand what's happening here historically. As I said, I'm one of the few people that's really giving you this in context as far as, paralleling it with real history, with Greek history. This is the only history that can fit during this time. These are the only people that were going through any kind of war or battle during this time in this area. It's not common sense. It is common sense to see you have the Persians conquer Kemet, then the Greeks come in and conquer Kemet, and then the Greeks conquer all this land, the whole wars of the Diadochi and everything that took place. Nothing else fits here when you understand what's taking place. So when I went through the whole story, this is the whole reason why we're going through the ancient history series. If you watched it, a lot of this makes sense. So the whole thing is, when you look at the wars of the Diadochi, and you see that they were splitting up the land from Alexander. That's what Numbers is about. Plain and simple. Numbers is giving you that history and getting you to understand what's taking place. And in the midst of this, there were wars. Stuff was going on. That's all it's really talking about behind the scenes. Hidden behind this story is that history. Plain and simple. That's what's there. So you can see what's taking place. So basically what they did is they're giving you, as I said, this history of their conquest of us. And we looking and we read and not really understanding, because it's the type of sick stuff they do, that we're reading. And while we get in this discipline of the fear of God and the rules of God, we don't even understand that we're reading about the demise of our ancestors right there in front of our face. Because what's happening around this time is they are breeding these armies to go and take down our people. Plain and simple. That's what it's about. The only history that fits in around this time is that history, that conquest. Now, we don't find much of it, but when we go and look at Greek history and the Greek wars, what was taking place, there it is. This is what we find. And then we know Hellenization, what was happening around that time, and who was the people that was in those lands was us. And it's like people don't want to fathom it because you have the Arabs there. But if we know the Arabs came in and took over from the Romans, Arabs wasn't there. So who was there? It was us, black people. Plain and simple. As I said, the Hebrews got it right in saying that it's black people as far as the Hebrews, but they don't get what's actually taking place. So now we know. All of this is leading up to Deuteronomy, which is the next DVD. Crazy. This is all leading up to Deuteronomy. So they know, telling this story, they're going to come to a point where it has to stop because it's not going to really fit in with actual history. Thus, the whole 40-year cycle of what's taking place. There's a lot of stuff going on in real life around this time, because now you got to remember the King James Version. We don't know what the original said and what the story was about at this point. But what we do know is they are distorting history. And not only are they giving us a hidden story about our conquest, but they are basically eventually going to put themselves in our position. They're stealing two positions in history. They're telling their story of their history, and then they're going to take what happened to us, what they did to us, and then take us out of it and put themselves into it. plain and simple. So, I mean, they're completely wiping us out. They don't even want to put us in the context of us being enslaved. They're going to say, you know, they're the heroes and the victims. Not only was they went through and fought this stuff, but then now they're going to take their triumph and their victory that they had over us and then now put themselves in a place as the people who were being enslaved, which was us. It's crazy when you really wrap your head around it. It's going to be hard for a lot of people to grasp what I'm saying, but it's not that hard when you pay attention. They're giving you their story and our story, but of course it's being told by the conquerors, not the conquered. So we have to really focus on what they're saying, but it's plain to see what happened to us. We had our land taken. We were enslaved. It's just that simple. Okay, but now let's get back into the story, because what's crazy about all of this, when you get into the story part of it, because the story part is important too. And the parts of the story that I'm going to be giving you is important, not just for this book now, but for later. Trust me, when we start getting into all the books, and you'll see even in Deuteronomy in the next DVD, you'll see how we're going to be going back and how a lot of stuff is going to start to fit and this how it's going to make sense. But the crazy thing, after everything Moses did, everything that Aaron did, all the stuff they went through, and you got to really think about, you know, being in that position, just looking at it from a real life point of view, being in that position to have to really look after thousands of people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just crazy what they had to do. But the simple fact they went through everything they went through, and they are not going to get to see the promised land or get to live in the promised land. They're not going to get to make it in the end, which is crazy. So what happens, a lot of people know this story, but it's an important story. So you go here, and this is Numbers 20, starting at 7. It says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Take the rod and gather thou the assembly together, thou and Aaron thy brother, and speak ye unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth his water, and thou shalt bring forth to them water out of the rock. So thou shalt give the congregation and their beasts drink. And Moses took the rod from before the Lord, as he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock. And he said unto them, Hear now, ye rebels, must we fetch you water out of this rock? And Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice. And the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and their beasts also. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, Because thou believed me not to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore ye shall not bring this congregation unto the land which I have given them." So now, here it is again. This is one of those petty things that you look at in the Bible. Again, meant to teach people faith and to really scare the congregation and to really grasping what God is trying to teach. Because that's what they say. Christians is going to say, well, this guy really was trying to teach the first group of people this laws and to get them to really obey. So he was real harsh. Now, understand what's taking place here. You know, God told Moses and Aaron to basically go and get the people water. You know, Moses done this before. Now, let's go to Exodus real quick. We're going to go to Exodus. This is Exodus 17, verse 6. It's saying, "Behold, I will stand before thee there upon a rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel." So Moses did this. Now this could be, you know, Moses did it before where he struck the rock twice and water came out. So what was supposed to happen was God was telling him and Aaron to basically go to the rock and basically, you know, sanctify it. Say, you know, this is God doing this. God is giving you the water. And to say those words, and as he said, God was just going to make water come out the rock. So God basically wanted them to be like, hey, yo, check this out. This water from the Lord. God give me all this, not me. So God do your thing, and then water come out the rock. Basically, put it in layman terms. But instead, Moses is like, okay, y'all want water? This is what y'all want. Y'all want some water? Bang, bang, here y'all go. Strike the rock twice, water come out, because that's what he did before back in Exodus. He struck the rock twice, water came out. So God is mad, and I don't understand how poor Aaron get caught up in this, and this messed up what's going to happen to him. But God mad because God like, yo, you were supposed to just go up there, say some words, and say I was the one giving them the water, and I was going to give them the water. But no, you went up there acting like you the man. You struck the rock 2 times. Now it's like you gave people the water. And then he was all like, yeah, here go the water, basically like from him. So this is the whole reason, for those of you who know or who don't know, this is the whole reason why Moses is killed, in Deuteronomy. He doesn't make it into the promised land, and why Aaron doesn't make it into the promised land is because of this right here. Everything they did, everything they've been through. I mean, and it's a lot more. I mean, Moses was over 120 years old when he died. So much happened, so much he's going to go through to die and fall short because of this. And I know people are going to say, well, so what? God just took him to heaven. He ain't get to. I mean, it's just, come on. It's the most pettiest thing in the world for them to go out this way, to me, when you're really paying attention to it. So now, you have the Israelites get to Kadesh, and they're basically trying to take a shortcut through Kadesh, where they asking the people, can we go through? Basically saying, we're not going to touch nothing. We're going to go right through the city. All my people, we're going to go through. We're going to come out, and it ain't going to be no problems. But, they're like, no, if you come through this city, we're going to draw our swords. It's going to be a wrap. Don't come through here. So basically, they end up not going through, and the people pissed off. So basically what ends up happening is now God is trying to show them, like, basically this is stuff that happened. When people don't do what they're supposed to do, it's not going to go right. So this is basically where Aaron dies. So it says, and the children of Israel, even the whole congregation, journeyed from Kadesh and came into Mount Hor. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron the Mount of Hor by the coast of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron shall be gathered unto his people, for he shall not enter into the land which I have given unto the children of Israel, because ye rebelled against my word at the water of Meribah. Which is crazy, because he didn't really rebel. He just followed what Moses was doing. So it's crazy. Take Aaron and Eleazar his son, and bring them up unto Mount Hor, and strip Aaron of his garments, and put them upon Eleazar his son, and Aaron shall be gathered unto his people, and shall die there. And Moses did as the Lord commanded, and they went up into Mount Hor in the sight of all the congregation. And Moses stripped Aaron of his garments, and put them on Eleazar his son, and Aaron died there in the top of the mount. And Moses and Eleazar came down from the mount. And when all the congregation saw that Aaron was dead, they mourned for Aaron 30 days, even all the house of Israel. Now, I ain't gonna lie. When I first was reading the Bible, when I got into this, I was mad. I was sad. I was like, damn. It was like a movie. Like, damn, Aaron, this how Aaron go out? Because it's crazy. The dude was there all this time. You start reading through so much. He was innocent to me in the whole thing. He was just following what he thought was right. And he like, well, if Moses doing this, and then I'm supposed to be following Moses getting the word from God. So I'm thinking everything cool. But, it's messed up. That's how he had to go out. But it is what it is. But this is basically, the end of Aaron. He doesn't make it to the promised land. So they go on. So it's almost like he had to be sacrificed for them to make it to this land. But really, it's them going into the first parts of the land that's going to be promised to them. Because now they're going to basically, which is lands that can be considered Israel. All this territory we're talking about around, understand, most of the time they in Jordan, which is like right next to Israel. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy. So Israel is right there. They in this land, and they trying to get there. And, they wandering, like he said. He ain't bullshit. They're going to be wandering for 40 years. And all these people, most of the people that's with him, it's not going to make it. They're going to end up dying anyway. So that happened to him. And then now the congregation is basically moving forward with Moses. So now really all that is just to really get you caught up in the story. Okay, this dude's supposed to be like one of the top people, for God. He's gone. So if that could happen to him, that could happen to anybody. Basically, what it's trying to tell you. It's almost like threatening people not to rebel or to go against, God's commandments. So basically what's going on now, the Israelites is basically going to go conquest, go out and kill more people. So it's saying here, and when the king Arad, the Canaanites, which dwelt in the south, heard tell that Israel came by the way of the spies, then he fought against Israel and took some of them prisoners. And Israel vowed a vow unto the Lord, and said, if thou wilt indeed deliver this people unto my hand, then I will utterly destroy their cities. And the Lord hearkened to the voice of Israel, and delivered up the Canaanites, And they utterly destroyed them and their cities. And he called the name of the place Hormah. And they journeyed from the Mount Hor by the way of the Red Sea to compass the land of Edom. And the soul of the people was much discouraged because of the way. And the people speak against God and against Moses. Again, they don't learn any lesson. They're speaking against God and Moses again. Wherefore have ye brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no bread, neither is there any water. And our soul loatheth this light bread. And the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people. And much people of Israel died. This is one of those esoteric, conscious parts of the Bible where you can pick out things that it's really talking about. A lot of people already know about this already, but I'm going to go through it for those who may not know. Clearly, what's taking place is you having the people being bit by poisonous snakes. And what does God tell Moses to do? To basically pick up one of the fiery serpents and put it on a pole, and anybody who looks at it basically is going to be healed. But of course, it's giving you the medical caduceus. Then it says here in John 3:14-15, just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Clear as day, giving you the medical caduceus. And Kundalini rising. That's basically what it's talking about. Kundalini rising and your consciousness, your energy healing your body. Plain and simple. So same thing. Christ consciousness, Kundalini energy, the energy rising to the pineal, and you having Christ consciousness and being able to heal your body and basically resurrect when you really get it. I'm going to give it away to wait till we get there. It's going to be big. But that's all it is. We understand what that part is about and what it's really getting into and what it's talking about. Poisonous snakes, Kundalini rising is just a simple part. And understand, like, you can really go into the Bible. You can make, and somebody need to do this, probably going to be me. You can almost make a whole consciousness book. Somebody had to do this out of these little parts like this in the Bible and put them in there and then just number it. Every single verse, consciousness parts that's really giving you esoteric knowledge. I don't got time to do it right now, but just note this as being one, and there's others that we actually skip that we had time to get into. But just one of those parts when they're giving you little esoteric hints about what's taking place. So now Numbers 22, 5 and 6 real quick. He sent messengers, therefore, unto Balaam, the son of Beor and Petor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, behold, there is a people come out of Egypt. Behold, they are covered the face of the earth. Remember that. We're going to go through that in Deuteronomy. That's an important part. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me. Come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Peradventure I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I wot that he whom thou blesseth is blessed, and he whom thou curseth is cursed. So this is one of the very famous big stories in the Bible that's in this part of Numbers that a lot of people know about. The whole story of Balak, king, and Balaam, without reading through the whole thing, because there'll be a lot to read. Just quick summary for those who don't know. Understand. So again, this is one of the parts you want to put into context because you can't find this dude. And this is just one of the curious parts. So even in this book and this story, just think about the common sense of what's taking place here, what must have taken place in real life. Now, Balak, the king, he got word. I mean, everybody know at this time, these Israelites who came out of Egypt, they conquering everything. The word has to spread. But in real life, we find nothing from nobody. Nobody is speaking about it in real life. But here in the book, Balak is like, these people coming out. They killing everybody. They shouldn't be winning. So it basically seems like they got some kind of magic power with them. So Balak, the king, is basically going to call Balaam, who he know as being the most powerful magician, there is. But Balaam basically is cool with God, believe it or not. And God basically comes down to him and he basically say, hey, God, I don't really like these people, these Israelites either. But Balak, this king, he want me to do something to him. What's up? And God like, nah, leave it alone, chill. But then God is like, you know what? They're offering you a lot. If they come back and offer you to go, then go with them. And then when you go, basically repeat after everything I'm going to tell you to say. I'm going to tell you what to say. Don't say nothing else but what I tell you to say. So you got the whole story where, God is basically mad. I mean, God tells him this, but then God gets basically mad that he's so eager the next morning to get up and go. So you have the whole story where he's on his donkey and then the angel appears, but only the donkey can see it. He can't see it, Balaam, and the donkey stops and he hit the donkey 1, 2, 3 times. And then the angel appears in front of him. And then the angel is like, why you hit the donkey? Well, the donkey talked to him first, like, yo, why you hit me? What's going on? Then he, like, in his dazed and confused state, like, this donkey talking to me. And then finally the angel appeared, like, what's going on? He tells, hey, I'm going basically to see this dude, see this king. So long story short, he gets there and he basically is repeating what God telling him to say, praising the Israelites, saying they're good people, nothing wrong with these people. They're good people and everything like that. And the king gets mad. He don't want to hear all this praises. He's like, yo, I brought you here to curse these people and you keep praising them in my sight. Matter of fact, man, just get out of here. So basically on his way out, he basically blurts out, hey, the only way to really get these people to kill them is to get them to sin. If you get them to sin, then God will basically abandon them. So if you get them to sin, God will abandon them. So he basically tricks a few of the Israelites, throws this big giant festival and this party for Baal, which, believe it or not, a lot of people know this, Baal actually means Lord. Baal is another name for God. It's another name for Lord, by the way. But had this big party for their gods, what have you, and it's a party. So they get some of the Israelites to come over there and party and worship these gods. And basically, God causes a plague to come and kill a bunch of them or what have you. So then now when you come back to the story, it's like the Hebrews find out what happened and they're mad and they're ready to go to war, with these people. So now, people die because of this plague and Moses and the people are basically mad about what happened and everything. After this happened, basically, Moses chooses Joshua as his successor, to basically take his place when he died, because eventually it's going to be over. So he picks Joshua, and they basically take another census. They number Israel again and take how many people they got. Take a number of how many people they got, because they know they're about to go fight. So basically, God basically comes down there to Moses and kind of sort of stirs up the whole thing, and it's like, hey, y'all need to go and basically, avenge what happened to these people, avenge what happened to, the Israelites. But when you pay attention to it, I mean God killed them. God, you the one that said the plague and then kill them. You could have just sent an angel and said, hey, get away from these people. Instead of that, you just, you killed them. Because exactly like how Balaam said, if you get them to sin, God going, get them out of here. So it says here, this is Numbers 31, start at 7. And they warred against the Midianites. The Midianites are the ones who had the party, as the Lord commanded Moses, and they slew all the males. And they slew the king of Midian, beside the rest of them that were slain, namely Evi, and Rechem, and Zur, and Hur, and Reba, 5 kings of Midian. Balaam also, the son of Beor, they slew him. They slew with the sword. So they killed Balaam, the one who basically told them, hey, if you basically get them to sin, then, God gonna do something to him. So he got killed too. And the children of Israel took all the women of Midian captive and the little ones, and took the spoil of all their cattle and all their flock and all their goods. And they burnt all their cities wherein they dwelt, and all their goodly castles with fire. And they took all the spoils and all the prey, both of men and of beasts. And they brought the captives and the prey and the spoil unto Moses and Eleazar the priests, and unto the congregation of the children of Israel, unto the camp at the plains of Moab, which are by Jordan near Jericho. So understand, again, when you pay attention to the story, what's taking place, this is not them avenging. Again, history is told by the conquerors, not the conquered, plain and simple. So if you make a story trying to justify you committing murder, kidnapping, genocide, or what have you, theft, then you can create a story like this. So they saying, well, pay attention. God is the one that killed their people. They're going there to avenge what happened or what have you. The actions of one man that told a lie, that got a bunch of people killed, who has then killed himself. That should be the end of it. But a bunch of innocent people are going to die. Kids going to die. Women are going to be kidnapped. They're going to have their castles burnt to the ground. During this time, when it's supposed to be going on, there is no castles. What castles are they talking about? So again, this is another one of those hints they're giving you that these are African people that is talking about them going and burning down castles or what have you. Find me a castle that's burnt down. You can topple a castle. Those bricks are very hard for you to just burn to the ground, which is why I showed you guys the ruins of those African civilizations, those castles that still exist to this day. And you can go ahead and look at the story and take it as if these people basically taking part in what African kingdoms was doing. And then, these Greeks or what have you, the white man, basically burning down the castles or defeating these people. And this is basically what it's covering up for. So it's robbery, it's theft. They're going in there and they are basically taking the goods, kidnapping the women, and leaving with everything. So it's like, okay, it's one thing to avenge your people, but then now you're killing innocent people and stealing their stuff. So this is basically what was taking place and what they was doing. So again, whenever they number, they getting their people together. He sent out 1,000. So when you read, it says he sent out 1,000 soldiers from each of the tribes. So that's 12,000 soldiers went out to go avenge what took place. Something that probably happened within a group of a few people. They sent out 12,000 soldiers to basically go and eradicate these people and take them out. And, innocent people was killed and kidnapped because of the actions of a few. That don't seem fair when you really think about it. So now again, this is not only to really get the congregation of people to really obey these laws. I understand that, if you go against God, stuff is going to happen. So, it's messed up, but in the Bible story, they're basically trying to say that, these people, they don't obey God. This is what happened to them. So the people that's getting retaliated against, these soldiers coming together and Moses and them going out there and killing these people, they basically deserve it according to the Bible because, they're sinners. They're not worshiping the true God, the one true God. But, when you put that into context with everything, as I said, God being merciful and God creating all these people and people supposed to be equal and everything like that, for the innocent people to be killed is crazy. But what really happens to them, or how the Bible describes what's happening to them, is still another thing to really get our military, because this is a part of it. Remember, it's not just the regular people they're trying to really get, but the people who would one day become real soldiers in America, soldiers for their cause. Because you got to put in the heads of people that this is somehow right. So if you're getting them to believe in this religion, once you're a soldier, this is what God is allowing to happen. So God is saying that it's okay to basically kill, to murder, and rape when it's wartime. So, you get into the Bible, and this one gets into these crazy parts. It's saying here, and Moses said unto them, have ye saved all the women alive? Behold, these caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Balaam to commit trespass against the Lord in the matter of Peor, and there was a plague amongst the congregation of the Lord. Now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that have known a man by laying with him. But all the women children that have not known a man by laying with him, keep alive for yourselves. So understand what's taking place here. They went there, conquered these people, killed a bunch of them, and then they're basically dividing up what they're finding. So it's saying here, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, take the sum of the prey that was taken both of man and of beast, thou and Eleazar the priest, and the chief father of the congregation, and divide the prey unto two parts between them that took the war upon them who went out to battle, and between all the congregation. So basically the people who went out and fought, they get a piece, and the rest of the congregation, they get their piece. And Levi a tribute unto the Lord of the men of war which went out to battle, one soul of 500, both of the person and of the beeves, which beeves is basically like cattle, beef, and of the asses and of the sheep. Take it of their half and give it unto Eleazar the priest for an heave offering of the Lord. And the children of Israel have thou shalt taken one portion of 50 of the persons of the beeves, of the asses, and of the flocks of all manner of beasts, and give them unto the Levites, which kept charge of the tabernacle of the Lord. And Moses and Eleazar the priest did as the Lord commanded Moses. And the booty, it's another word Muslims use, booty, war bounty, or war spoils, I should say. And the booty being the rest of the prey which the men of war had caught was 600,000 and 70,000 and 5,000 sheep, and 12,000 beeves, and 1,000 asses, and 30 and 2,000 persons in all of women that had not known a man by laying with him. Skip down here, it says 38. And the beeves were 36,000, in which the Lord's tribute was 12, and the asses were 30,500, of which the Lord's tribute was 61, and the persons were 16,000, of which the Lord's tribute was 32 persons. So now there you go. Understand what's taking place here clearly. And this is crazy to me for a book that people are supposed to look to for some kind of moral responsibility in their lives. It's supposed to give moral stability to, civilizations of people. It's murder, rape, genocide, plain and simple, theft, robbery was taking place. Supposedly from God. Now understand what's supposed to be going on. Understand now, because a lot of people are going to put it together. You had a people supposedly enslaved in Egypt, come out of Egypt, supposed to be given their promised land. They're supposed to be on the way there. Now remember, these people done already pissed God off to where he said, I'm gonna make you wander for 40 years. What's taking place though? They're not wandering for 40 years. They're conquering. Plain and simple. So when you get the parable, as I said, what happened was, really, when you look at the true story, they were breeding these soldiers, making sure they had the count, making sure they had the soldiers to basically go against these people, African people. And this is basically what's taking place. They're going into these lands and conquering and taking everything, hiding behind the story of these Israelites supposedly going, doing God's will and doing what they're supposed to do to get to their promised land. But really, it's the true story of the Greeks and the Romans and their conquest of African territories. Just that simple. But it's not hard to figure out when you really pay attention to what it's supposed to be in context with. So you have, them supposedly going to Israel, but stopping and committing genocide, raping, stealing, conquering. Now, if you look at chapter 32, from 38 to 42, we're not going to read it, but what's basically taking place is you have Moses basically going into another city and basically threatening, you might as well say, talking these people out of their land. You can see when you read down here, it's talking about them changing the names of the places. So they're basically going in there and threatening these people and saying, hey, do what we tell you to do. Everything will be all right. We're going to take this land. And remember, again, they're supposed to be on their way to Israel now. This around chapter 30, around this time, I believe the 40 years has passed and they're supposed to be on their way. But again, this is not what they're doing. They're on their way conquering lands. And then Moses is giving this lands to the people and they keep moving forward, plain and simple. So you'll see throughout their travels, they are just simply conquering land. That's all they're doing. And then now you see here, they're changing. He's giving it to these people and they're changing the names and so on and so forth. It's giving you the conquest and what happened, what's taking place, and what the Greeks was actually doing, hitting behind the story of these Hebrews, plain and simple. So in Numbers 33, Moses is basically making a summary and writing down everything that took place, up until that point. And you see in verse 3, it says, and they departed from Ramses in the first month, On the 15th day of the first month, on the morrow after the Passover, the children of Israel went out with an high hand in the sight of all the Egyptians. For the Egyptians buried all their firstborn, which the Lord has smitten among them. Upon their gods also the Lord executed judgments. And the children of Israel removed from Ramses and pitched in Succoth. And again, of course, none of this can be proven. Plain and simple. And as we all know, when you go through the history, when this supposed to have happened, the Egyptian empire did not fall. And we'll see in Deuteronomy, them make repeated reference to this point. And it's huge that you understand what they're saying. I'm going to go through it. But understand, it didn't fall. Still, after that's supposed to have happened, which it didn't, they give us the date of 1446 BCE, which is not under Ramses, as it's talking about here, Moses. Again, giving you clearly, what's taking place. They can do this. They write in history. So they throwing this stuff right in our face. Moses, it's not a coincidence. They know what they're doing. So Ramses is right there for you to read the name. And it's no such thing or no proof. And the timeline does not even add up to where they would be under the rule of Ramses. So again, you got to really pay attention to what it's saying. But it's bull, And they left and fled Egypt. And they didn't conquer Egypt because, as I said, we know the dynasties still arose and was mighty dynasties. So definitely going to look at that when they're talking about Egypt, because it's important when they bring it up. But that's basically what they've done. So you have the real cover story is these people getting this knowledge from out of Egypt and then going forward and using that knowledge to conquer. So Numbers basically ends with Moses basically writing down what took place, as I said, and basically really splitting up the spoils or the booty of the lands that they conquered. So giving the people certain lands and so on and so forth is what's supposed to be taking place as they going on towards, their so-called promised land. But again, Numbers, one of those books, it's easy for you to see what's taking place. You have it being part of the 5 books of Moses, the so-called laws of Moses or laws of God, where it's really just iterating the laws and what they're supposed to be following. And basically what's happening to the people that is not following these laws. Again, so starting out, if you're going to be teaching a doctrine, this is how you want to teach it. This is God's laws, the commandments. Plain and simple. When you look at it from this aspect, this is what you're supposed to follow. If you don't, this is what's happening. So if it's happening to people that's, at a time where they can actually see wonders from God and miracles from God, what's going to happen to these people today? So it's getting people really suckered into the story, and these people not having the mind to understand it's just a story. And then at the same time, as I'm giving you, there's a hidden story behind that story. That's basically telling you of the conquest of these people, which is us, and how they basically went on from after Egypt, conquering different civilizations, because that's what it's about. So Numbers is really misleading. Plain and simple. The title, the name, and everything. It's misleading numbers because the numbers really has to do with the Greeks getting the numbers together to go ahead and conquer and take our land. Plain and simple. Has nothing really to do with the census of Moses counting his people, what have you, because there's no way we can ever prove that anyway in the first place. But what we can prove and what we do know is that right after Egypt, the Greeks went on a tear, and we had Hellenization. And we had the Diadochi War and them splitting up land, just like basically what you see in Numbers. And that's basically what you can really put it with. Everything in Numbers, when you really get into the whole thing, is taking place parallel, you might as well say, with the Diadochi War and what was taking place then. Them putting together armies, getting into skirmishes and conquering lands and taking over. You don't just amass and just take all this land. I mean, look at all this land. Look at all these different countries that they split up between the successors of Alexander. And then there's other little places where they split up with, their family or their generals or what have you. So it's a lot of land that got split up. And in order for them to go ahead and conquer those other lands, they had to put together the numbers. And as I said, they got into places where, they was outnumbered or the Africans was just too much for them, and they bred these armies to go ahead and fight and beat us. Plain and simple. That's really what it's getting into. It's not so much to really dig into in the book of Numbers. And that's basically, it's going to be giving you the laws. And understand, a lot of these books, which is why I skip a lot of this stuff, when you get into it, I mean, he begot who, and this person is this. I mean, it's just the chronology and, and everything like that. And the genealogy, I should say, is just long, and, it's repeating the same stuff. You'll see, just, open your Bible and look at Numbers, and you'll see in the beginning chapters, I mean, it's just talking about the same stuff. Counting the numbers of the people and who fit in what group and so on and so forth. So, it's a lot to it. So when you look at it on the scale of the tabernacle and then the families, and then you look, from the picture, you can see it's a lot of people supposedly, that Moses commanded. And the picture is supposed to give you a sort of a scope of how that was. But really, when you look at it, what it looked like? It looked like a military encampment. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. It's a military encampment. And you got two people running the whole thing and controlling everybody else. You kind of sort of can put that with, like, master and apprentice, Jedi stuff, Sith stuff, and commanding all these people and going out and conquering. The history behind it is them basically taking our shit. Plain and simple. That's what you got to get from it, because that's what it's about. So it's not much really to get too much deep into Numbers, except for what we talked about here, because that's what's really taking place. But it's a lot that we're going to definitely come back to, which is why I'm giving you these specific points and numbers, because you'll see we're going to come back to it. It's important, but for you to really pull out the real part of the story and see what it's really talking about, this is what it's talking about. Them taking our land. So I don't really want to beat around the bush on this one. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch and purchase and support and get through this Numbers and get it in and understand where it fits at, because it's still a lot. I'm telling you, you'll see Deuteronomy is definitely huge to really understand, because we all know it's going to be talking about the whole Hebrew Israelite stuff and everything like that, and really go into a lot of different stuff that I haven't talked about that I was saving specifically for Deuteronomy, which you'll see. So there's a lot of stuff that you'll see. As I said, the Bible is our history, but it's not. It's hiding our history by giving us European history, and those who are conscious enough can actually pull out the true story and fit it with actual history to tell you what it's really talking about. It's not that hard, really. It's just a lot of people get caught up in the stories, and they think too hard, and they try to put too much into some of the verses that don't really go. Put it with real history. Look at real history and what it could possibly be talking about, and then you can tell where this stuff fits. Plain and simple, we can see where this fits. Numbers is simply that. The numbers, them getting the numbers together to conquer us. It's just that simple. But I want to thank you guys again, taking the time to watch, purchase, and support. See you guys in Deuteronomy. See you guys next video. Thanks for watching.